Most people think career reinvention happens with the dramatic leap, quitting a job, launching a business, or walking away from corporate life overnight. But in reality, reinvention often starts much quieter. It begins with a conversation at the kitchen table, with two people asking each other difficult questions about risk, timing, and what kind of life they actually want to build. And sometimes it happens while you're still fully inside your career, slowly building something new on the side. Today's conversation is about exactly that. Welcome back to Growth at the Pace of Trust, where we talk about business development, leadership, career reinvention, and the real stories behind building something meaningful. Today's episode is a special one because we are exploring what career reinvention looks like when it happens as a couple. My guests today are Brendan and Shannon Hammond. Brendan spent years in corporate software sales while also building something entrepreneurial on the side. Shannon has a background in advertising and outside sales. And together, they've been passionate about investing in the New Mexico market and helping people here create opportunities and build wealth. What I appreciate about their story is that they represent something we don't talk about enough. The reality that entrepreneurship doesn't always mean abandoning your career overnight. Sometimes it means building, experimenting, and believing in a vision while still navigating the responsibilities of professional life. And in their case, doing that together as a couple. So Brendan and Shannon, before we get into the business itself, I'd love to start at the beginning. How did you two meet?
Okay, so this is where we have two different stories, all right? And the funny thing is, they're both true. So she likes to say, "Oh, a friend introduced us," and that's true, but it kind of sounds like we were set up. And I'm not gonna lie, I had to take a little more initiative than that. So we actually met at a networking event. It's true, a friend did introduce the two of us at the event, and for about a year's time, we just got to know each other in a professional setting. But at least on my end, a spark started building pretty fast. And so basically I did that thing where she needed somebody to take a picture of her and some friends, and I did on my phone, and then I needed to text her the photo, right? Smooth moves right here. So maybe somebody can learn a little thing or two from that. And so anyway, we eventually started dating after about a year.
How exciting. Well, you say you have two versions of the same story. What's your version, Shannon?
My version is that we met for a mutual friend. Then it's just simple. Doesn't go into a lot of detail. It's just we met for a mutual friend. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I want the audience to understand what kind of business you're a part of.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your business that you started together, what industry it belongs to, and then we can move forward with the questions.
Yeah, sounds good. So we have a branding and marketing business, and what we really do is help companies, big ones, small ones, build out loyalty programs on a community level. Pretty much every company is trying to get more presence online, right? That's the world that we live in. But the problem is that so many people just treat Amazon like a one-stop shop for everything, right? I've certainly done my fair share of that, just like probably most of you have. So if you're a company and you want to have a presence online but not sell through Amazon, you need a strategy that's going to bring people to you. And so we really help companies build out strategy in a community level. And as business goes through their websites and their apps, we wind up, of course, capturing some of that revenue for driving the business.
Mm-hmm. All right. Fantastic. Did you have anything to add, Shannon?
No, that was it.
That was it. All right. Well, I know for you, Brandon, you started this business while being employed, okay? And now you're 100% self-employed, an entrepreneur. So take us back to the moment when corporate life stopped making sense for you and what felt misaligned.
Well, I appreciate that question. For me, it's kind of funny. I actually started building while I was in school, while I was in college.
Oh.
And so even when I stepped into the corporate world, I had an idea that I would build an exit strategy literally as soon as I possibly could.
Okay.
And so for about 6 years, I was paying my bills 9 to 5, right, with my corporate career. But then I would flip the switch from employee to entrepreneur in, 5 to 9. I was building my future. So I kind of knew right at the beginning, just because of when I decided I wanted to follow an entrepreneurial path.
Right.
I think for you though, babe,
Yeah.
you wound up experiencing more of a revelation, when you'd already been a few years into your career, right?
Yeah. Mine was a little different. I was working in advertising at a time, and I had been with a company for about 6 months. And I remember specifically, I love the intro that you had, because it is those quiet little moments, like those, I don't know, like that one conversation or that one thing that you hear that is just like, wow, that was really powerful and eye-opening. And I remember I was having a conversation with my mentor actually in advertising, and I was 26 at the time. And I remember she looked at me and she said, you know what? I feel like your light is really dimming. And that hit me so hard, because I was 26 and I felt like my life was slowly conforming to something else that just wasn't me. And it really just stuck with me. It really hit me hard, and it just really made me realize, like, okay, is this in alignment? Does this make sense for what I should be doing with my life? I don't know. It was just one of those moments that I had.
Yeah.
So I never really thought about entrepreneurship, actually. But it was a small moment that I think planted a seed for me.
Absolutely. And I always talk about alignments on this show. Probably every episode had the word alignment in it. So it's nice to know that it was, a gradual realization that where you were at the time was misaligned, and it was time for something new.
Yeah.
Okay. So what were the early signs that told you we can't keep doing this forever?
Do you want to take that for
No, I think that's a better question for you, because you had to experience being in the corporate world as a long-term plan.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Whereas for me, I always knew I wanted to pay out.
Yeah. I think what's really important is to look ahead 5 to 10 years down the line, and look at the people and how they're living. So that was very eye-opening to me, because hear my heart when I say this, everybody that I worked with in advertising was great. Everybody that I worked with in outside sales was great. But you have to evaluate like how people are living. Like, how is their relationship with their spouse? How is their relationship with their kids? How is their health? Do they glorify being busy, or are they productive? I don't know. Like, there were certain things that I saw that were signs in the very beginning where I was like, this is just not aligning. Holistically, this is not how I want to be living. And I knew if I stayed doing what I was doing in corporate America, that 5-10 years down the line, those people were basically paving the path from where I would ultimately be. And so things just started really shifting in my brain. And I was like, okay, I think, we get asked the question when we're 18 years old, like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Which is like a crazy question. Like, how do you even know what you want to do? I think the question should be, how do you want to live? And you need to find people that actually have the life that you want. And those people weren't necessarily living the life that we wanted, or what I wanted at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if there's anything I can just add to that, I want to be clear that, we have tremendous respect for like what you can accomplish, right, in the corporate world. And there's so many great companies that have provided amazing opportunity. And for the years that I was in software sales in Seattle, I mean, I felt like I learned so much. I grew so much. I did not hate what I did at all. I'm very proud of the growth that I experienced in that setting. It's just that long term for us, we didn't necessarily want to spend our whole lives there.
Right.
And that's for us. And that's not to say that that's going to be the case for everybody. Everyone's got their own path.
Absolutely.
But we got really excited about the idea of doing something creative in business that we have ownership of. And I think a big reason why Shannon and I wound up falling in love was because we both had that kind of similar outlook around how we wanted to design our lives.
The vision was the same.
Yeah.
Exactly. And career reinvention does not really mean leaving your corporate job to start on your own. No, it could be moving departments, moving industries, as long as you're in alignment and doing something that, you are convinced of and you're making an impact, that's all that matters at the end. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just curious, did you leave corporate America at the same time, Or was it like
Yeah.
you left first and then she left?
Yep.
So I actually met, I left corporate America in the BS stage of my life, which stands for the before Shannon stage of my life.
Just
And,
by
I'd actually built my own business and marketing on the side, big enough to the point where, I was doing more part-time, financially, it was outweighing my corporate, my corporate career. So I wound up stepping into entrepreneurship full-time when I was 29. And it was shortly thereafter that I actually met Shannon.
Yeah.
And so, of course, it took a few years for us to, work through our dating process, right? You wanted to see a mess that was hot.
It was.
That's us for sure. So anyways, we wound up getting married. And then shortly after we got married is when Shannon was able to transition out of her career in outside sales.
Yeah.
Great story. So now, as a couple, how did you navigate risk?
Yeah.
Fear?
Yeah.
And the timing when there was no guaranteed income?
Yeah.
Or was there a guaranteed outcome because you were already out and making the money?
Right. There's a great question.
Yeah, that is a really good question.
Yeah.
And to a degree, yes, there was something guaranteed because we had something established on a certain level by the time we got married. However, we got married and then a couple months later, the world changed because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so everything that was so certain, all of a sudden, was not certain.
Became very unknown. That was our first year of marriage.
100%. And so I, building our business portfolio through that season,
Right.
Came with a lot of risk and uncertainty, and some things went backwards.
Yeah.
And goals that we had weren't always hit.
Yeah.
Right. So I definitely feel like we've had to navigate a fair share of, uncertainty, having goals. But there's no guarantee of how quickly or not something will happen.
Right.
Right. So I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Well, I think that's what's so important. This is just us personally, but our faith is a very big part of who we are. And I think that's what really grounded us and has rooted us over the years.
Absolutely.
Is believing before you're even seeing things. And I think a lot of entrepreneurship is faith. It's just very faith driven. You have to go out on a leap of faith and you have to believe over and over and over again, even with the uncertain times or the uncertain circumstances. And I think the other thing that was really helpful for us as a couple to navigate, risk and failure and uncertainty was not counseling with each other and actually speaking to other people in our lives. Like mentorship is a very big thing in our lives. So, I'm so grateful that we have men of character in our life that can sow into my husband, and I have women in my life that can actually sow into me. So, the way that I look at it is if we're in a hard time, if we're in a risky season or anything like that, our brains got us into that season. So what makes you think that our brains are going to get us out of that season? We need other people to actually sow into us and speak into us and help us during those times. So that was really pivotal for us.
And mentorship is definitely very important, whether
Everything.
in professional life or even for people who've done it before, and you can tell us all about it.
It was huge for us.
Well, I just want to say, I think that's one of the great things about this podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, you're bringing people together to share lessons and perspective that they've learned, and creating a platform where we can all learn from each other on these really important topics. So
Absolutely.
thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming and showing support. Absolutely. Well, I do have other questions that I would like to ask. And the next one is, what was harder than you expected once you left corporate America? And what surprised you in a good way?
Yeah, I can start off with
Yeah, go for it.
I think for me, it was the lack of support and lack of belief and actually more rejection than you think that you're going to get. Because it's at least for me and for us, everybody in our family, 9 to 5, very high educated people. I come from a background of attorneys. He comes from a background of doctors, engineers, all that sort of stuff. And I think that's very, I guess you could say, quote unquote, normal. And so when you're deciding to do something that's totally against the grain and not normal and wanted to go into business for yourself, you've done, people are why are you doing that? Like, why are you risking? Like, why aren't you staying quote unquote safe? And so I think that was very noticeable for me. And I think the other thing that I noticed that surprised me about leaving corporate America is, again, just my perspective here and my opinion. But I think doing something outside of the grain is so not common. It's so not common. And I almost looked at it as, this might sound bad, but like a badge of honor. I was like, wow, like I'm willing to do something that most people aren't willing to do. And that really surprised me that there were a lot of people out there that don't necessarily stick with what they say they're going to do. And so I think that kind of like made me want to stick with it.
Absolutely. And that's very honest because, one thing is saying I want to be an entrepreneur. Another thing is actually doing it.
And staying with it when it's hard.
When it's hard.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard.
I always say if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Correct.
Yeah.
100%.
So, yes.
I don't know if you had anything to that.
There's a couple things I could say, I guess. I mean, I had this notion that once I became full-time in business for myself, that instantly my productivity would just go through the roof with my own guests, right? And then after 3 weeks of watching the entire X-Men movie series front to back, I realized, wow, like I need to have some structure in my life.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of being in the corporate world is you have a structure kind of already in place that you need to operate within. But when you're in business for yourself, you're responsible for creating your own structure.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
that's true.
as we were talking about it a minute or so ago, right? If it was easy, everyone would do it. And being a business owner on paper, that's a mere formality, but being an entrepreneur is a mentality. And when it's you going full time, right, you have to become the person inside first
Right.
that can ultimately manifest and create the business results that you want on the outside. And so a big thing that happened to me is that as hard as I'd worked and as much as I'd grown to get to the point where I could be a full-time entrepreneur, it was like there was a big mirror that was held up to me. And I realized, wow, Brendan, you got some personal growth to go through if you want to actually take things to the next level.
That's so good.
And it's a very powerful framework when you said like entrepreneurship is a mindset, or I don't know how it's a mentality. I love that. Definitely. All right, so now I'm curious about the personal side of the transition. So the question is, who did you have to stop being in order to become who you are now?
Yeah.
That's a great.
I mean, there's a lot of things, and we haven't arrived. At 18, we're very clear, we are still in the becoming stage of our life, phase of our life. But I think one of the things, there's multiple things that I think about. I think I had to learn that failure is a part of success, and that when I do fail, I'm not a failure. It's just something that happens. I think I've had to learn how to let my husband lead, because I'm a very bold personality. Let's just put it that way, which there's nothing wrong with that.
You two get along.
I know, probably, but we're equal in value but different in function, and I had to like figure that out. I wrote some notes on this too, but I had to learn to take my eyes off myself and become selfless and actually serve people. I had to stop being so thin-skinned and hard-hearted. I actually had to become soft-hearted and thick-skinned, because as an entrepreneur, you're going to go through a lot. So you got to be tough on the outside, but like soft towards people on the inside, which is hard. I had to learn that I am worthy of accomplishing the dreams that I believe were planted in my heart for a reason. I think a lot of the world can really beat that out of us, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that I've had to overcome and then still overcoming. I think it just comes in different seasons.
And then the learning happens as you're doing.
Correct.
As you're going through that becoming phase. I think that becoming phase is the longest phase.
This phase. The becoming phase is also the learning phase. And like Brendan and I are of the same mind, where we never want to stop learning. We never want to stop becoming. We're always going to become.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you have anything else to add, Brendan?
I mean, that was an amazing answer.
Absolutely. I'm impressed.
That was an incredible answer. I mean, I would say perhaps that if there's anything I could add, it's that when you are in the corporate world, and this isn't a bad thing, but there's a certain amount of authority that just comes from having a position. But, certainly in our space, we cannot rely on having positional authority.
Right.
So that means that if we actually want to make things happen with people, it's going to come from, really having empowering leadership. And a big thing I needed to learn is that, the best form of leadership is love.
Yes.
Right. And if you can move people, right, and help people believe in themselves,
Right.
well, then you can do a lot of things.
Right.
But that's not a tactic. That's not something that you can just do from the exterior. That actually comes from not just a mindset, but a heart set.
Right.
So the heart of the matter is a matter of the heart. And for me, I really realized that I needed to do some heart work inwardly so that could flow from within as far as how I was interacting with people, treating people, and when there were opportunities to leading people.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a quote from Simon Sinek, if you're familiar with him, about leadership. Oh my God, it's so good. I hope that one day I can have him on my podcast.
Amazing.
That would be amazing. But he says leadership is not being in charge, it's taking care of those in your charge.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. That's my philosophy also when I was, managing a team and all of that. So my next question to you two is, what were the unglamorous seasons people don't see when they look at your life today? And this was inspired from that iceberg photo, if you've ever seen it, where down you've got failure, you've got, doubts, you've got, and then on top, what people see is the success.
Right.
But you've gone through so much. It was unglamorous before you became glamorous. So tell me about that.
Everybody always looks at the highlight reel. They don't see what actually took place.
Seriously.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah. So, when I first decided I was going to start my own business, first of all, I was just totally broke.
Yeah.
Okay. I was donating blood plasma a couple times a week at that point to make an extra $50 to $60.
Yeah.
I'm sure with inflation now, it's probably 80 to 100. And this deal, this, and you make some money. But I was driving my first car. It was a car I bought for $150 off a friend. No muffler. It was a 4-door, but only the 2 back doors worked.
Oh my goodness.
I never changed the oil in it once, because why would you change the oil in a $150 car, right? The value of the car changed based on how full my gas tank was. So I was driving that for a year. I was living in an absolutely disgusting, apartment with a roommate. And I was literally doing all of these things because I was putting all the resources I could into building my business.
It was a choice.
It was a choice. This was not something I had to do, but I believed in the vision that I was willing to have some delayed gratification.
Absolutely.
That was not glamorous, and it was not always fun.
Right.
A lot of success is about subtraction more than it is addition.
Absolutely, yeah.
I needed to learn how to say no to things. And I'm not saying I did this all the time, okay?
Right.
I still lived my life and had fun, but I had to say no to, going to every sports game with my friends that I wanted to, or I had to learn how to say no to watching every series on Netflix, or playing, leveling up and, beating the latest version of Halo. I had to learn how to, sometimes put some of those things aside so I could focus my resources in my evenings into building something that was related to the life that initially it was just what I wanted, and then as a couple, the life that we wanted together.
Yeah.
So if you could have seen some of those years, there are people that thought I was crazy. There are people that didn't understand why I was making the decisions I was making.
Like family thought we were going backwards. Like, why are you making those choices? Because, everything is, in the world, I think it almost looks like you want to maybe just show off a little bit where you're at. And we couldn't afford to do that. So I don't know. We just made choices that just really were hard at the time, but I'm so grateful they were hard. There were situations for Brendan and I, we actually didn't live together before we were married. So I lived in a basement apartment. That's all I could afford. Because the rent was super cheap. But I remember living in that apartment and getting completely debt free. I remember paying off all of my debt. And
nice.
So there was times where I remember I would have like, after I paid off all my bills and all my expenses and all these things, I had like $13 left in my bank account, and I would like go across the street and I'd get like cheese and crackers and I'd celebrate because I was like, wow, I made it, I made it this month. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's just making those choices now that your future self is going to thank you for.
Absolutely. And that speaks to your resilience, because a lot of people, especially when you hear the noise, the negative thoughts that kind of like spark those limiting beliefs, they were like hibernating, and all of a sudden now you're starting to doubt yourself.
100%.
Like being resilient and not giving up is, and going one step back is okay, because then you go 100 steps forward.
Right. Look at it. I always use the analogy of like an arrow.
Like
Sometimes you have to pull the arrow back to launch forward.
exactly.
It's the same in life. When it doesn't
Exactly.
it's like you're going backwards, but you're not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how did your definition of success change once you stepped away from the corporate ladder? And the reason why I'm asking this question, because a lot of people define success by title and income.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
My definition of success has changed.
I know.
Although I still enjoy a good paycheck and a good title, just
Don't we?
But yeah, tell us.
All right. Well, a couple things I'll say.
Yeah.
All right. Success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile dream or goal.
Yeah.
So that basically would mean that it's not a destination, it's a way of living.
Correct.
Right?
So
If you have a dream that you're excited about and you're moving towards it and you're working towards it,
Right.
The process of who you become and the experiences and the people you meet, the memories you make, that is all a part of success.
Right.
Another one of my favorite quotes is that the best use of your life is to live your life so that the use of your life outlives your life.
Yes.
And so for us, we look at success as not just about Shannon and myself, but it's also, okay, what impact are we making?
Right.
in-
I call that building a legacy.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Or something lives on after you're gone.
Yeah, 100%. And, for us, we look at the work we do in business as
Right.
more of a vehicle to, hopefully empower people, right? Make our community a better place.
Right.
That's what we really care about,
Right.
The marketing and branding business just happens to be the vehicle that allows us to do that. But the real purpose behind everything we do is, of course, the life that we're building for each other, but it's also the people that we get to work with, serve, partner with
100%.
on a daily basis. That's the thing that really is important to us.
Yeah, and I think for me, success used to be like the title. For sure. It was working at the title, being the career woman, being super busy, all of that. And I've realized more and more that success to me is peace of mind.
Exactly.
And success is alignment, like 100% alignment. It's having time. I think like there's a huge difference between rich and wealthy. Like rich is a lot of money, wealth is a lot of time. And Brendan and I are really big on having time and creating more time to exactly what you said, just like spend it with the people that we want to spend it with and be able to say yes to things instead of no, because we don't have the resources of time or money. So it's definitely changed for us. I think it's going to continue to change throughout when we get older.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're
Keep getting older. I don't know. We're getting there. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. I don't have a cup. I'm fasting, so here we go.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, talking about time, okay? Entrepreneurship brings you some kind of flexibility.
Yeah.
Okay? So, how has having control over your time changed the way you think, create, and make decisions?
Wow.
This is a great question for you, babe.
Oh, it is.
I think so. Because I watch the way that you start your days, on what you focus on and what you prioritize, and you couldn't do that before.
Yeah. So having time just allows you, I think, to live through your values.
Okay.
And do the things that you value the most. So, I mean, I have, like, we both have this, but slow mornings.
Okay.
Slow mornings, not feeling rushed. Having time to actually sow into myself spiritually, that is just like a big part of who I am. Having time to invest into myself with taking care of my body by working out, eating healthy, not like rushing, just eat something. You know,
Eating while driving?
yes, eating while driving, putting my makeup on while I'm driving.
How you ladies can do that is crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, we're just multitaskers. I don't know if that's good, but it's giving me the ability to see what do I value the most and know the difference between important and urgent.
Okay.
That's really huge for me. Yeah, and it just gives you it allows me to like slow down and actually enjoy living because, you know, this might be kind of deep, but like we're created to be human beings, not human doings. And I think we forget the being
part. Oh my God.
all the time. Like we forget to just like enjoy life.
I just love
Like
that.
trying to like rush through it all the time. I mean, it's already March and people are freaking out, you know? It's just, are we in
Oh yeah, the one.
we're like, okay, wait, why aren't we enjoying what we have in front of us? Why aren't we taking full advantage of the day? And, you know, still being productive, but being able to live it is so powerful. I felt like I was just surviving for a very long time.
And I love it. Like you are able to add the structure to your day the way you see fit.
Correct.
Every day is different. Exactly. The way that you want.
Yeah, I call it living a life of design instead of default.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to the depth of what you already said. We only live once.
Yeah. Correct.
So we need to find a balance, you know, between, because at the end of the day, like what good is it going to do to you if you pressure yourself to do something, but that something is not going to happen.
I know. Yeah, it's definitely about it. Again, I think it's just going back to what do you value? What do you value? What choices do you want to make?
Yeah.
Time allows you to do a lot of that, and design your life.
Absolutely. Design your life. Oh my goodness. My podcast as in editing is about BD as architecture.
Okay.
And design. So it's crazy that you use that terminology. But so looking back, what decision changed everything, not because it was bold, but because it was aligned?
I really truly believe the person that you choose to marry is hands down the most important decision you will
Oh my God.
Hands down.
I am 100% agreeing with you, and I'm not gonna say why. I'll say why off camera.
But I mean, if you think about it, like I hope and pray for people that you choose somebody who has the same vision as you, who has the same ambition as you,
Values.
wants the same things as you. Yeah, and you really talk about like the really hard stuff up front. You know, we always, you know, we've gotten like mentorship from this, which I'm so grateful for, but it's like unity in the essentials, but freedom in the non-essentials, and really figuring out what the essentials are. But hands down, like the best decision I've ever made was you. I mean, you probably questioned me, but that's fine.
What was Shannon the best?
Why? I get it, but like, yeah, literally choosing your partner in life. I mean, you do everything with that person. That better be the best association you ever have.
And even if you say you're a lot, I feel like I'm a lot too. But they say behind every great man there is a woman.
That's special. So, yeah, gentlemen, pay attention to that. Like,
Yes. Well, alignment is important. And I totally agree with you. Choosing the right partner that's going to help you level up. And you both have a common vision and, you know, you're both working hard towards whatever that goal is.
Yeah.
It's totally different than being with someone who could put you down.
exactly.
You know, we don't need any more self-limiting beliefs. You know, we don't need negative energy. We don't need the... Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for saying that. What about you? So I'm still going to pick on you.
Like, I mean, that was such a great answer. I would, it's hard to really add a whole lot to that. And
You can say me.
yes, babe.
I love it.
Yeah, you know, but I'll give sort of like this is a related answer to what she said, but it's a little bit different. You know, as we came together as a couple, you know, there were certain aspects of the vision that I brought into things that she did not initially. She didn't understand, and vice versa. Like when we met, we were both living in Seattle,
Right.
but I grew up here in New Mexico, right? So I'd always wanted to come back to New Mexico for a season, but she'd never been here. So when I would talk about it, it would cause, you know, some friction, right? And so
I love it here.
but yeah, so she's grown into that part of our vision, and on the other side, she's always wanted to live in New York City. I mean, she's like Miss New York City. When I first met Shannon and went into her apartment in Seattle, she had a whole wall of photos of dreams and goals that she had, and half of them were New York. And so did I ever think that we would be, working towards, being able to split time between New Mexico and New York? Absolutely not. Yeah, right. But we both kind of embraced these aspects of each other's visions because ultimately they were aligned with where we wanted to go. And so, that's just kind of an example, right? So, like she said, this is not meant to be a marriage or relationship seminar, but I will say this: unity has to happen in the essentials. Yes. But there can be freedom in the non-essentials, and wisdom is knowing the difference between them.
Correct. Absolutely. It's crazy, Shannon, because I wanted to live in New York City. In fact, I took a semester off from college in 2002 and lived in New York City and did the ball drop and everything. So yes.
I love it so much.
Like the first time I did the ball drop, I was 19, I haven't been ever since, but it was the best experience. I met so many people. Yeah. I'm social, so I talk to
everybody.
I talked to like everybody, and we did crowd surfing and all of that. So it was amazing. So it's crazy to hear like so many commonalities I'm discovering. But the main reason why I wanted to live in New York City is because JFK is an international airport, a truly international airport, and I'm someone who likes to travel a lot. So that's why, But now New Mexico is home. I would not change it for anything.
Same. We love both. Both are.
Yes, absolutely. Well, couple more questions, and then we can call it done. This is important. How did you protect your relationship when business stress could have easily taken over?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that the key is having time where you're putting your phone away, you're putting business conversation away, and it's like protected time for us as a couple.
Right.
And so, it's not always easy, but we work to have, a few of those times a month, the least. And it's honestly, that's probably something that at times we could be better at. But that's really, really important, because though there is stress at times and there's pressure in business, and you have to be able to, in fact, I think the misconception that a lot of us have as Americans is we just think that if we're under stress and pressure, if we just work more, sleep less, caffeinate more, unplug less, then we're going to get through it. But the reality is none of us actually perform well through pressure when we don't have time to unplug and recharge, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why the top professional athletes in any sport spend a lot of time and a lot of money on rehab and recovery and sleep. It's because they know that for them to actually perform the best when they're most needed, they have to actually be the best. And so that's been important in our relationship, but I think those lessons are true regardless of your situation. That, having some time to unplug, recharge, recover, and fill you back up, that's going to help you actually be your best when it matters the most.
And this is such an important truth that gets overlooked, because you really need to reset.
You do.
And if you don't unplug, you think you're performing, but it's just momentum that is kind of like average.
It's like you're on autopilot.
Exactly.
Not even fully there. That was such a great answer. But the other thing that I think about too is just going back to our faith is really important to us. But also, again, I think mentorship is really important in these aspects when things would get like really tough or stressful, because it's like, it's one thing to have like time for just he and I, but we shouldn't have that time to just be talking about like all the negative stuff or all the stuff that's going on in our brain. It should be like, we should be enjoying like living our life. And so we can kind of like almost dump the negative on somebody else and get perspective in that way, and just not like, I don't know, circulate it with us too. Yeah, that's been super.
And I always believe that there is always positive within the negative.
Yes.
Nothing is 100% negative,
That's where you've grown. That's where we've grown the most.
Exactly.
The hard,
the lessons,
comfortable.
And that's how you develop the skills, Perfect. So if you had stayed in corporate America, who would you be 5 years from now? A chief marketing officer?
Oh man, that's so funny that you said that because I thought of the negative immediately. I was like, man, I probably, I think I'm a very ambitious person. I don't say that in like a cocky way or anything.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I think I'm a very ambitious person. I think I would have gone pretty far in corporate America, but I don't think I would have reached my potential as a human being, as a woman. I think it would have been, I think I would have exceeded externally in things like with the title.
Okay.
But internally, I think I would have been stunted
Okay.
with a lot of stuff like learning emotional stability or, self-limiting beliefs or just like not having that internal growth as much. Because I think for an entrepreneur, what I've learned is that the external results that we want are never going to supersede the internal growth that we're not willing to do.
Oh, that's true.
And so I think you can externally grow in corporate America, but and you can do it for a really long time, but almost like plateau at some points with your growth, with your leadership. And I think, again, I'm not saying that I've arrived by any means, but I think I've learned a lot more being an entrepreneur internally, how to become a person of character versus not.
And what's arriving anyways?
Correct. No, I haven't done it, so I don't know. I have no idea what it is.
I think ambitious people keep going.
Yeah, always.
And that arrival point is always like, because you keep pushing yourself.
There's another like
And next steps. Yeah.
something that you want to accomplish.
Exactly.
You just want to push the boundaries of what you know you're capable of doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you have anything to say, Brendan?
I really don't, because I kind of optimized my corporate trajectory from the beginning around what I could do to build my own business. So, I just feel like it's a harder question for me.
Sure.
It's a question for you. Yeah, absolutely. So Brendan and Shannon, thank you both for taking the time and joining me today and for sharing your story so openly. I always appreciate conversations like this because they remind us that reinvention, entrepreneurships, and building something meaningful rarely happens overnight. It takes patience, it takes trust, and a willingness to keep moving forward even when the path is not perfectly clear. So for anyone listening who connected with your story and wants to learn more about what you're building, where can people find you or reach out if they want to learn more about your business? Yeah.
Okay, so we have a link tree, and you can just click on this link and it'll open up all the different places you could find us. LinkedIn, our social media handles, we'll have some websites and our email there. So by all means, we would love to connect. We love this community. We love this city and this state so much, and we're really excited about developing new relationships. So feel free to be in touch, and thank you so much for having us on. It was a lot of fun. This has been awesome.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm going to make sure that, your information is either in a QR code or shared in the notes of the show. And I do thank you very much for coming here and for sharing the stage with me. And for everyone who has listened to this episode in its entirety, if you connected with the episode, please make sure that you circulate it, you subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on LinkedIn, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay steady, stay strategic, and continue building at the pace of trust. Oh my God.
Most people think. Go.
Oh my God. Okay. Most people think career reinvention happens with the dramatic leap. Today's conversation is about exactly that.